Hello everybody and welcome back to Gaming on Caffeine. My name is Isaac and we are back playing some FTB Infinity for episode 29, and at the very end of last episode we finally managed to get ourselves the tier 1 Draconic Evolution armor, which combined with this angel ring here from Extra Utilities gives us super speed and the ability to fly like we're in creative mode, which is pretty freaking awesome, especially when combined together because we fly so fast. I absolutely love it, and it's even more fun when we fly this fast in a massive room like this one. Look at this thing. This room is absolutely huge and is a whopping 29 by 29 blocks in size. And for those of you who are kind of familiar with the mod list in this mod pack, you are probably going to know which mod we're going to use this for. And for those who don't, well, I'll spoil it for you anyway. We're going to get into some blood magic. So the first thing that we're going to need to get into blood magic is an altar. This is kind of the base of all blood magical stuff, and it's this guy over here, the blood altar. Really easy to make. It's a diamond, 2 gold, a furnace, and 4 smooth stone. Fairly simple stuff if you happen to have a furnace and a diamond, which we do not. So I'm really hoping actually that we have some in our chest over here. And we should also really start to work on getting all of this stuff automatically back into our AE system, because it's kind of a bit of a pain having to come here every time we want to get diamonds or redstones or etc. And I didn't know that. Apparently, when we come back through the Mistcraft book there, we come back on this exact block, which drops us straight into the blood magic room. That's kind of cool. But we can throw that into our AE system, and we can get ourselves a blood altar. Nice. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to throw this thing down right about here, smack bang in the center. And the reason that I've made this room so extraordinarily big is because the tier 6 blood altar, which by the way is a new blood altar in the newest version of blood magic, is a whopping 23 by 23 by 9 blocks tall. So that thing is absolutely massive, and that is why we have such a massive room. This room is 9 blocks tall, so it should just be able to fit in the tier 6 blood altar, which will be pretty cool. But the first thing that I want to do today, before we jump into any more blood magic, is go ahead and fix this little hole in the roof that we have here. We're going to replace that with an elevator block, which I think is from Open Blocks. Let's have a look. Elevator, this guy over here. It is from Open Blocks. Really awesome block. It's made by an ender pearl and 8 wool. We're going to need 2 of those. 1, 2. And basically, for those who don't know how this works, you put 1 down on the bottom, like so. 1 down on the top, like so. And then if you walk over it and press shift, boom, you fall to the next floor. Walk over it and jump, boom, you end up on the next floor. So now, whenever we come back from our Mistcraft age, we won't fall all the way down into the blood magic room, and it's also a lot easier than trying to fly up every time that we want to get up and down to our blood magic room. Okay, so we've got that up and running. Now let's get started with some actual blood magic. So, for those who don't know how blood magic works, basically, it's a mod like any other, and it has kind of what I like to refer as a power system. So, for mods like BiblioCraft and Thermal Expansion and Ender.io, that unit of power is pretty obvious. In BiblioCraft, it's EU electric units. In Ender.io and Thermal Expansion, it's redstone flux, it's RF. In a mod like this one over here, Thermcraft, it's kind of the V that you contain in your wand, or maybe even the essence that's in these jars. And then with blood magic, that essence is known as life points, which equate to actual blood from your character. And the way that we start to get blood into the blood altar is using a sacrificial knife. So sacrificial knife is this guy over here. And it has no respite. That's a creative sacrificial knife. That is not at all what we are after. We're after a knife. And I think, actually, the first thing that we're going to make is not the sacrificial knife. Let's have a look here. Blood magic. The first thing that we are going to make is... Okay, so it's actually this guy over here, the sacrificial orb that we need. It has been slightly retextured. I'm not quite sure what the heck that is supposed to be. It looks like a weird black twig, maybe a watch that's kind of been stretched out. I'm not too sure, but depending on what mod pack you're playing, sometimes it'll be the sacrificial orb, sometimes it will be the sacrificial knife, sometimes it will look like this, sometimes it will actually look like an orb, but most of the time the recipe is exactly the same. So we can go ahead and take this. We can get rid of this really long thing we've got in the NEI search bar down here, and basically what we can do is if we head on down to our blood altar and simply right click whilst we're near it, it's going to do damage. You'll see it took 1 heart off us, but we now have blood in our blood altar. So we're going to do that a few more times. Like that. And actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to check to see if it's dark outside. It is not. But as soon as it does get dark, I'm going to move this bed downstairs because we are going to die an awful lot. Because we're going to stand here, we're going to give a bunch of blood to the altar, and then we're going to respawn in our bed and do the same thing over and over and over again, which is something we do have to kind of do for the first little bit of blood magic. But but we can get rid of that a bit later on, and hopefully we will do by the end of the episode, so we don't have to keep respawning and giving our own blood. Now, the first thing that we kind of want to work towards is the orb. The first type of orb, which is this one up here, the weak blood orb. This is made by putting a diamond into the blood altar with 2,000 life points. So we're going to have to grab a diamond and throw it into our little blood altar. Now, I don't think we should probably fill up on hunger first, so we can actually start to get some health back. I don't think we quite have 2,000 life points worth of stuff in here just yet, because I'm pretty sure 2,000 life points is, I think each sort of jab of the knife here, or the sacrificial orb, is worth about, I want to say, 50, but that might be completely wrong. We'll put it in there, and we'll see if it works. Now, it's not a good idea to leave it in there too long after the blood altar drains, because then it will start to lose blood and you'll have to put more in, and it kind of just becomes a vicious cycle of losing blood pointlessly if there's not enough in there. So you kind of want to make sure you stay on top of it. We'll go down to 1 heart here. Hopefully there is enough in there. It is slowly sucking up the blood there, even if it doesn't look like it, and eventually it should, if we have enough blood life points in the blood altar, it should turn into a weak blood orb. Which it did. Nice. It took a while. We had to wait a little bit, but we now have a weak blood orb. And basically, this is kind of like a portable altar in that it could store blood for us. So this thing here stores raw life essence. So what we can do is we could put this back into the blood altar, and it would start to fill up with its own set of life points. We can also just right-click and give it blood directly, which puts life points straight into the blood orb here. And the reason why we want to have life points on us like this is because further on into blood magic, some of the tools and some of the armors actually require a constant stream of life points to the blood orb in order to, from the blood orb, should I say, in order to actually function. So things like the armor are much stronger if you happen to have a bunch of life points stored on your person within a weak blood orb. Now, the next thing we're going to want to start making are the sigils from blood magic. So these are these guys up here. I'm going to go ahead and just type in sigil. It should come up with all of the blood magic stuff and occasionally a bit of extra utilities things over there. We have the division sigil. We don't have to worry about that. We are worried about these guys up here, the blood magic sigils. Now, there are quite a lot of them, but the first one that we're going to focus on is this one over here, the division sigil. This one, or the divination sigil, sorry. This is why I get this confused. I'll call this one the divination sigil and this one the division sigil, when in fact this one's the divination sigil and this one's the division sigil. This thing is made using a blood orb, which is why we needed it, some glass, and this guy here, a blank slate, which is made by putting smooth stone into the blood altar with 1,000 life points. So, actually, we should be able to access our ME system using this guy. Nice, I love it. We'll take some of the smooth stone that we have, and we'll stick one of them into the blood altar. Like this. And while that's doing that, I'm also going to go ahead and make a new crafting station down here for us to actually use. Eventually, what I might do is bring another AE terminal down here so we can actually access all of our stuff. We have run out of blood there, so we'll go ahead and pump a little bit more in. We are back at full health, which is nice, but that's going to go pretty quickly. And you can see here, this is the situation that we want to avoid. Right now, it's kind of being very inefficient with what it's doing. So, is it nighttime yet? It's not. My gosh, you know, whenever we want it to be nighttime, it's never nighttime. And as soon as I want to go out in the day, it'll be flipping dark outside. So, I guess we're just going to have to sit here and give a little bit more blood. I guess we can kind of run down. So, if we do something like this, and then quickly sprint back to our gravestone, which isn't too far away, to be fair. But we walk so slowly. Oh, here we go. There we go. Okay. And then try the same thing again. I'm hoping that will be enough. We'll stick our armor back on so we actually get back up to full speed and put our little ring back in there. My gosh, that ran through that so fast. As you can see, it does take up... This is what I'm saying. You kind of want to stay on top of it. You don't really want to be doing this unless your bed is right next to where you're going to respawn. Actually, the gravestone mod does make this a little bit harder. Although it does ensure that your items stay there, which is always nice. And it's still not turning? Really? Really? You're going to do this to me? You're going to not turn? Oh, we need one slate. Come on now. One slate. Jeez. Okay, so for whatever reason, that took far too long. Not quite sure if there's a bug there or what, but that took ages to make a normal blank slate. But we now have one, and we should now be able to go ahead and make ourselves the divination sigil, which is actually going to come in really useful. So if we do something like this, and throw our blood orb, which I actually stuck into the crafting table. I was trying to see if this thing was actually causing any issues. I don't think it was, by the way. But if we throw that in there, we get ourselves a divination sigil. It says peer into the soul to get the current essence. So basically, this thing allows us to see how much essence is within our blood orb itself. So we right click, it says there is currently 200 life points within our blood orb that we were holding onto, which should be still in here actually, which is not where I want it to be. Thank you. There we go. Take you back. There we go. So now we can see it's actually 200 life points in here. If I was to do this and check again, there's now 400. So each one of those little jabs there to the weak blood orb is worth 200 life points. If we were to check in here, we can see there is currently 880 life points in the tier 1 altar. And if we go ahead and just jot some in there like that and check again, there's now 900. So each one of these is only worth 20, as opposed to these, which is worth 200. What? Okay, I'm not quite sure what that's about, but yeah, that's how that works. So it would take a heck of a lot of life points to get us up to the 200, to the 1,000 there. I'm pretty sure that's been changed, maybe to make that drastically harder to do. But either way, can I put that in there and take it out of the blood orb? Yeah, I can. So it's probably a better idea to actually put it into the blood orb, and then put the blood orb into the blood altar in order to get a lot more blood for your, in order to get a lot more blood for your buck, maybe, I guess. I can't really think of a saying for that, but let's take our bed, let's take it downstairs, so hopefully if we die again, we won't have to respawn all the way back up on the surface there, which will be very nice. And the next thing that we're going to make is we're going to start to work towards automating this, because as you've just seen, it's a bit of a pain to try and get it so that we are the ones who give all of the blood to this system. And let me just really quickly get rid of that death point and stick my armor back on, so we got nice full speeds again, and we'll put you back in there. So what we're going to do is we're going to upgrade this altar so that it's a tier 2 altar, because once it gets to a tier 2 altar, we can make this guy over here the sacrificial dagger, and once we get to the dagger of sacrifice, what we can do is, instead of killing ourselves, basically, to get blood into the altar, we can kill other mobs, both hostile and passive, in the blood altar to get their blood into the blood altar instead, which is a lot better, especially from my point of view. Now, the way that we do that is we upgrade the blood altar, like I said earlier, within tiers. So the first thing we're going to do is upgrade to tier 1, and then further on down the line, we'll do tier 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, so we can get better and better stuff throughout the mod. Now, to upgrade to the first one, we need, I believe they're called runes. Yeah, we need a bunch of these blood runes. Blunch is a bunch of blood runes. Bunch of blood, I guess. Blunch runes. Sure. We need a bunch of these blood runes. And to make these, we need stone, more of these blank slates, again, another weak blood orb that doesn't get used up in the recipe, and some more stone. And basically, to upgrade this altar for the first time, we need 8 of those surrounding the altar, and then some glass and some glowstone. So, what I'm going to go ahead and do, guys, I'm going to sit here for quite a while now, I guess, trying to get as much blood as we can into this blood altar. So if I do this and check, we now have 3,000. If I put that in there, I'm not quite sure how long that's going to take to actually, it's transferring the wrong way. Yeah, it's going back into the blood altar. That's not what I want. No, bad blood altar. But then if I go the other way, it only goes up by 20? Seriously? That was not the right thing at all. Let me try this again. That seems incredibly low, like really, really low. Let's see. It's on 244. If we do a jab, it's on 264. Yeah, that is incredibly low. My gosh. There is a little bar that has appeared on the left there. Is that my, like, eternal blood counting bar? Is that going up? It is. That's awesome. We can just hold on to that, and it just tells us how much blood is in our essence, in our system. That's awesome. Well, I guess, guys, what I'm going to do, considering this thing is going to take absolutely forever, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to make a ton, this doesn't work, by the way, it's just an NEI glitch, I'm going to go ahead and make a ton of these blank slates here, so we can go ahead and make 8 of these blood runes. I'll be back in a second. Okay, so a little while later, we're not quite there yet on the runes for the blood magic, but I have figured out why we are doing such ridiculously low amounts of life points into the blood altar every time we use this guy here, the sacrificial orb. Because if we go ahead and look right now, we're on 600. If we jab ourselves again, and look, we're on 800. But if we were to do this really quickly, jab ourselves, come back, break the gravestone real quick, and do the exact same thing. So we take a look, we are on 2,400 life points. We jab ourselves again and take a look one more time. we're at 2,420. And the reason for that is because every time we die, we get a 5-minute debuff called Sulfray. And this is WayofTime being the person who made the mod blood magic. And basically, the idea is you're not supposed to be able to kill yourself over and over and over again, and then just respawn with the bed and get a bunch of easy blood. So, whenever you respawn and do this, you get the Sulfray debuff, which means you only get 20 life points every time you jab yourself, which is a ridiculously low amount. So, what I've gone ahead and done is set up a bit of a loop around that's going to allow us to do this anyway. And the way that I've done that is using a little bit of a weird technique. But basically, we're going to make some more fluid ducts, like so, from thermodynamics, and these things are super easy to make, especially because the liquid that we are carrying is not in any way very hot, so we can just make a bunch of those. And we're also going to grab ourselves a tank, or a few tanks, from open blocks. These tanks are I have no idea where the flippity flap they are, because it keeps moving around. But we should just be able to make this thing. Here we go. Gonna need that. Take a few of those. 8 should be more than enough. And basically, what I'm gonna do, or what I've done, is I've set up a rancher up on the surface by my cows, which is gonna automatically milk the cows whenever it can, and then send the milk down here into a tank that looks something like this. Boom, look at that. So we now have a couple of buckets worth of milk just sat here in this tank. And we still have the Sulfray debuff. So if we were to go ahead and grab our bucket, get some milk, do something like this, and make a milk bottle from Mine Factory Reloaded, and then drink it, we lose the debuff, which is a bit of a long way around doing stuff, but we do have a bunch of cows up there that are basically doing nothing, and we do have a little bit of time, and it's probably going to make things a little bit easier if we can just go ahead and grab some milk instead of waiting the 5 minutes. So what I'm going to do, guys, again, is I haven't actually made any more runes since we could have waited, so I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to go and do this a few more times and get ourselves the 16 blank slates that we need to make the 8 blood runes, and I'll be back in a second. And finally, a little while later, we have ourselves the 16th blank slate, so we should now be able to go ahead and make all of these blood runes and finally upgrade to the tier 2 altar. So I've gone ahead and put down the capacitor banks back in here. They were originally over there. These do form a nice little multi-block, and the reason I put them here was to grab my wireless terminal and charge it up fully because it was a little bit out of juice. We'll also go ahead and... No, I don't want you going in there. Stop. Why are you auto-outputting? That's not your job. Disable. By the way, it's left click to move and right click to disable on there. For some reason, are you pulling? No. No. For some reason, this was automatically pulling itself into there, which is not what I wanted to do at all. But anyway, let's go ahead and grab some smooth stone. The reason I've done that is because we need quite a bit of it in order to make all of these blood runes. But we're going to go ahead and make as many as we can, which is all 8, thank goodness. So, all we need to do now is grab a little bit of glowstone, which I think we still have. We do have a tiny bit left after our little decoration downstairs. So we'll go ahead and take 4 of those. 1, 2, 3, and 4. As well as some glass. Now, I'm going to use glass because the wiki uses glass, but you don't really need to use glass. You can use absolutely anything you want. I just think it looks kind of cool using glass as opposed to using other blocks. And basically, the way that we're going to upgrade this blood altar is we're going to pick it up. We're going to get rid of you because we need this space. And to make it into a tier 2 blood altar, it looks something like this. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, 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 boom. And then nothing goes beneath this, so we're going to waste a piece of glass here. And we're going to stick the blood altar back down right about there. And I completely misjudged what we needed. You don't need any glowstone or any glass for this tier. That's for the next tier. This is now a tier 2 altar. So if we just right click, you can see it now says tier 2 under altar's current tier. 0 life points. It can still hold 10,000. And it is now tier 2. Now, you'll notice that there are a bunch of runes over here that we didn't even use. And really, you could use any of these runes that you wanted in replace of these normal runes. And actually, it'd probably be a good idea to use some of these because some of them actually give you some positive buffs. Now, for instance, augmented capacity increases the amount of blood that the blood altar can hold from 10,000 to more than 10,000. I'm not quite sure of the exact numbers. Obviously, there's rune of acceleration. I think there's a speed rune. But that might be the rune of acceleration. These keep getting renamed. Efficiency rune, things require less blood. The speed rune, the rituals happen faster. So if you've got the 1,000 blood in there, you put the stone in to get the slate. If you have a bunch of acceleration runes around, as opposed to just normal blood runes, it will go a lot faster. However, they are a little bit more expensive. As you can see, especially the acceleration rune is pretty freaking expensive, requiring one of these slates. My gosh, I didn't realize that was so high up on the list. Wow, yeah, the acceleration rune is really, really high up on the list of runes, but we have now a tier 2 altar, so we should be able to make ourselves the Dagger of Sacrifice. Dagger, flipping caps lock, of Sacrifice. This guy over here is 3,000 life points with an iron sword in a blood altar, so look at this, our milk canister there is full. If we were to go ahead and grab some iron as well as some sticks, actually I'll see the sticks first, just to make sure we have some, because we might not. We do, thank goodness. We could take you, we'll take some iron, we'll do something like this, thank you very much, and then we should just be able to kind of continue our same trick. If we were to go ahead and just die, like that, we can respawn, we can grab our gravestone, which undoubtedly does take a while. Grab the bucket, fill it up with milk like so, craft it up with the bottle, drink it, get rid of the sulfur, and then go ahead and donate all of our blood again to the blood altar like so. That gives us 1,700. Is that losing it? It is. It's losing blood. And I have no idea why. That might be slowly going into the... Nope, it's just slowly disappearing. What the heck? Huh. You know, this thing is constantly full of surprises. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and do this a few more times. Hopefully we can get that up to 3,000 when we put the sword in. And I'll be back in a second. Ta-da! We get ourselves a sacrificial dagger, or a dagger of sacrifice. I'm going to keep calling it a sacrificial dagger. I do apologize. And basically, what we can do with this now is, if I quickly go ahead and get rid of all my death points there, we can stick, like I said earlier, hostile or passive mobs on top of this blood altar, jab them with this knife. They should, most of the time, die instantly, and that will give us blood to the blood altar without us having to actually do anything, which is kind of awesome. Are we still losing blood? We're not. That's a good sign. Not quite sure why we were losing blood earlier. Bit weird, but that's fine. So... I'm thinking that what I might do is, well, we have two options here. Originally, my plan was to take some of the mobs that are spawning in here and to kind of redirect them to the top of the blood altar. However, it is a fact that villagers give you much more blood than you get from the mobs. So, what I might do instead is try and find some way to set up the auto spawner in here and try and redirect the villagers from the auto spawner down and into the blood altar. Either way, guys, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go away, I'm going to try and figure out a way to redirect either the mobs from in here or the villagers that we can spawn using our auto spawner from where they are now to the top of the blood altar, and I'll be back in a second. Alright, so quite a while later, and this is what I've come up with. It's almost finished, but I kind of wanted to show you guys the finishing touches here to show you how I've got it all set up. So basically, we have our auto spawner. It's the same one that I pulled right out of the smeltery room, so this is no longer up in the smeltery room. It's down here. We're going to put this villager thing in a little bit after this thing, after we get it all set up, because we don't want it spawning villagers in just yet. From this side, we have our energy conduits coming, or our flux ducts, sorry, coming from our energy cell, powered by the electric engines, which are powered by the geothermal engines over in that room next to the Thermcraft room. And then over here, we have we need a few more fluid ducts yet, but we have fluid ducts from thermal dynamics coming from the grinder that's grinding up our mob room, and that was going to come all the way along and down as well, because we want both of these to hook up to our auto spawner. So let's go ahead and grab quickly a few more fluid ducts before we get onto these conveyor belts here, which we will do in just a second. Let's grab, like, I don't want to quite grab a... Ooh, I have glass. Okay. Don't want to quite grab a stack yet, because I don't think we actually need a stack. I think 36 might be enough, possibly, maybe. We'll see. Let's have a look here. We're going to pull it all the way along and then kind of down. We're not going to have that hole in the wall. Hopefully it'll look pretty nice. Didn't want you there at all. Get out of here. And I think this should be enough. So, obviously, the mob essence is needed to make the villagers spawn. I chose villagers over the normal mobs because they do produce quite a bit more blood, actually, per villager killed as opposed to the mobs that you kill. So, we'll pull it down one more, and this should just be enough. There we go. Beautiful. And you'll see now that there is one... Actually, we don't want that to go there. And we want to get rid of you. And get rid of you. And then what I'm going to put in the middle is actually a new conduit that was added with thermal dynamics, and that, if we go ahead and type in thermal dynamics, is this guy. Thermal dynamics is this guy over here, the flux-plated fluid duct, which is a conduit that can carry both energy and fluid in one block, which is pretty awesome. Now, this thing is a bit more expensive, of course, requiring the hardened fluid duct, as well as some electrum nuggets or electrum ingots. Do we have all these? Yeah, we have 3. We might make this one, as well as some electrum nuggets and some signalum ingots. Now, signalum is a kind of new alloy, or ingot, I guess, added to Thermal Foundation in 1.7. It wasn't in 1.6. It's made by smelting a signalum blend, which is made with copper dust, pulverized silver, and some redstone, none of which we have. So, let's grab a little bit of redstone here. Actually, we do have enough in there to just grab a bucket. So, I guess all we need is some silver and some copper. Silver we have, I'll take you. Copper we have on us, but fortunately we need 1 more, so we'll take 2 of those and throw both of those into the SeNtiMeL, like so. Let's grab our AA capacitor. We should really make another one of these so that we can have both machines run at full speed all the time, but that's fine, we'll take both of those. That gets us some copper dust. We can throw in that there for some silver dust, and then we should be good to go. If we throw you like this, with this and this, that gets us some signalum, which we can then go ahead and throw into our alloy smelter. Again, we'll quickly move over the capacitor like that. We do lose a fair bit of redstone flux every time we do that, but it's fine. We have quite a bit of redstone flux, and that gets us 3 signalum ingots, which we can then throw into our system, which allows us to make... boom! Some flux-plated fluiducts. Nice! So, what we can do with these is it should just fit nicely between both of these and then go up to the auto-spawner, providing both power and the mob essence. Look at that. Boom, boom, boom. That is absolutely beautiful. It's now getting both mob essence and power. So, the final thing that we're going to need to do after we go ahead and fill in that hole with our chisel here. Wrong one completely. That one. After we fill in the chisel here, is we'll be able to get our villagers from here all the way over to our altar over here. And the way we're going to do that, as you may have guessed, if you were watching like 3 seconds ago, is using conveyor belts. Conveyor belts are fairly easy to use. We made them for our other mob room. Conveyor helps me hit the right keys. Conveyor belts, boom, boom, boom. 32 might be enough. If not, we'll go ahead and grab that other 16 lying around in there. And basically, what we're going to do is we're going to fill this floor in. Like so. We could even put a cover there if we really wanted to, but I'm not going to because it doesn't connect the textures and it just looks horrible. So instead, we're going to go ahead and do something, I think, like this. Wrong way. And I do it every time. I put it down the wrong way. So it's going to look something like this, and all of them are kind of going to face towards that end wall. And then once it gets to that end wall, we're going to have them turn like this, and of course go this way, and then all the way along down here. Come on, let me fly a little bit. There we go. All the way, oh yeah, we definitely need more conveyor belts. All the way down and to the altar, which should hopefully work just fine. Now, we are out of rubber there, which is a bit of a concern. I have a feeling we might have to go and do some rubber tree hunting real quick. Just a second. Definitely, yeah, okay, I'm gonna go find some more rubber trees, guys. I'm gonna finish setting up these conveyor belts, and I'll be back in a second. And again, a little while later, we now have all of the conveyor belts set up, so this should actually 100% work. Now, the final thing that I want to do before we flick the lever and turn on that auto spawner is I want to set up a bit of a wireless redstone system. So what we can do is, instead of leaving the thing on all the time, which will just result in a massive overflow of villagers sat here, which will cause a huge amount of lag, instead, what we're going to do is we're going to set up a wireless redstone system so that I can have, say, a lever here that turns the auto spawner on and off whenever I want it to, and therefore we can kind of just request villagers to come along and down this line. So, in order to make this, we're going to need a few things. We're going to need some stone slabs, really easy to do. We're going to need both the transceiver, the transmitter and receiver, or the transceiver if you want to kind of combine those words together. We're going to need a re-ether pearl? Is that what it said? Yeah, a re-ether pearl, as well as some obsidian sticks. We need quite a few of these, so we'll go ahead and grab a little bit more obsidian out of here. We should kind of be constantly producing that anyway. It's always kind of good practice. We'll take a few of those, and then we should be able to make this little stick, and then a ball should be fairly easy to make. It's just 3 stone. We'll throw that in there as well. Make ourselves the little receiver dish, and then make ourselves this guy here, the wireless receiver, and then the transmitter is a little bit easier to make. It does require another one of these re-ether pearls. Now, do we have any glowstone? I think we do. I'm like 98% certain that we have glowstone in this chest. We do. We have 55. Nice, nice. Okay. Do we have any more diamonds? No. We got some ore, though. It's not going anywhere, which is a bit odd. Hopefully that'll fix itself. I'll look at it between episodes and see what's wrong with that. But if we take our glowstone here, we should be able to throw that in like so. Get ourselves another re-ether pearl. And then combine that up like so. Boom. Boom. and get ourselves the transmitter. Nice. And then we're also going to go ahead and, of course, grab a lever that we can just flick on and off. And this should work just fine. So let's go ahead and fly on over again to our auto spawn. We're going to be careful going through this thing because it's a bit of a pain. There we go. And I'm thinking that we'll put down the thingamajig right about there. So that's the receiver. Villagers shouldn't be able to crawl on top of that, but what we'll do, just in case, is we'll kind of rotate one of these like that. So any villager that comes up to this thing automatically gets pushed to the side like that. And we're going to set it to frequency 1. Frequency 1 sounds fine. And then we'll do the same thing over here. We'll set another one up like this. For now, I'm just going to put it like there with a lever. Like so. Again, frequency 1. And then if we turn that on, that should turn this one on over here, which should mean, whilst it's on, no villagers should spawn. So, if I was to put this thing in, you can see it idle, it's not moving, it is working 100% fine, and if we were to go ahead and fly out for, hopefully, what will be the last time, we'll put our clear glass back down like so. Clear glass is got, by the way, by putting sand into a smeltery instead of in a normal furnace. Flick that lever, it should start the countdown tick, and any second now, we should start to see some villagers spawning. Cobblestone might not have been the best choice for that, you know. We should have probably used a different cobblestone. Look at that, we got a villager, which should start to make his way all the way down to here, which is going to be absolutely beautiful. This is a lot easier for trading as well. They are managing to get on top of that, but they are eventually kind of walking off it and ending up down here kind of slowly, but that's fine. And then once it gets down here, if we were to quickly check how much blood is in the altar, we have 1,400 life points. If we were to jab this guy with our Dagger of Sacrifice, boom, we are up to 3,400 life points. Each one of these villagers is worth 2,000 life points. That is insane. That is like, what, 10 of our hearts? Which is like more than we have. That's more than one of our lives. This is flipping awesome. So we should now have no problem getting ourselves any amount of blood for the blood altar and moving forward in blood magic. That guy, oh my gosh, I'm going to say, how did you get out? That guy over there is just a master. He is never going to end up over here. But with that, I think we're kind of running out of mob essence there. So we do have to kind of make sure that this guy keeps up and running, which I think he is doing. We should also probably go ahead and replace the floor here, like so. But with that, guys, I'm going to end the episode there. Thanks for watching. If you did enjoy the video, be sure to like, and if you want to see more Infinity, be sure to subscribe, and I will see you guys next time.